No one can deny the appeal of a fairy tale. But fairy tales are supposed to be fiction, aren't they? But an old French fairy tale, from the Middle Ages, has never been considered fiction. At least, not by the people of the Poitou region of western France, where it all happened. And especially not by the Knightley family whose ancestor, it seems, married a fairy queen all those centuries ago. In fact, their living ancestors still claim that it was that fairy ancestor who was the secret to their noble ancestor's success, having come into great wealth and the ownership of many grand castles of vast tracts of land spanning 3 countries. Let's take a closer look at the story. This apparently true fairy tale, complete with actual fairies, fairy queens no less, begins with a knight named Raymondin, who, while hunting in the forest of Poitou, accidentally kills his uncle, Count Aimery. This tragic accident leaves Raymondin distraught and guilt-ridden, wandering aimlessly in the dense forests. In this moment of despair and vulnerability, he encounters Melusine by a fountain. The setting is serene and otherworldly, hinting at Melusine's magical nature. Melusine appears to Raymondin not just as a beautiful woman, but as a figure of comfort and hope amidst his turmoil. She offers to help him, sensing his desperation and grief. The help she offers is profound. She promises to guide him out of the forest and aid him in restoring his honor and fortunes. However, her aid comes with a mysterious condition. Raymondin must marry her and vow never to see her on a Saturday. Melusine's intelligence and grace quickly become evident as she aids Raymondin in acquiring land and wealth. She oversees the construction of magnificent castles and cities, including the Château de Lusignan, and the couple enjoys great prosperity. They have several children, but each one bears a curious mark or deformity, hinting at their mother's otherworldly nature. For years, Raymondin honors his promise, and their life together is blissful. However, driven by curiosity and influenced by malicious whispers, he eventually succumbs to temptation. One fateful Saturday, Raymondin spies on Melusine, discovering her in her half-serpent form. Shocked and betrayed, he confronts her, breaking his vow. Heartbroken, Melusine reveals that by breaking his promise, he has doomed her to return to her fairy form permanently. She transforms into a dragon-like creature and flies away, but she continues to visit her children in secret, offering them guidance and protection. The legend of Melusine is more than just a fairy tale. It became closely associated with the noble Lusignan family. The Lusignans, who rose to prominence in the 12th and 13th centuries, claimed descent from Melusine. This association was solidified in the 14th century when Jean d'Arras wrote Roman de Melusine, a detailed account of the story, at the behest of Jean de Berry, Duke of Berry. This knightly family later went on to become very powerful, ruling territory in France, Cyprus, and Jerusalem. They have always claimed they owed their success to Melusine. Thus, the tale of Melusine weaves together themes of love, betrayal, and the supernatural, reflecting the complexities of human nature and the allure of the mystical. But how much of it is true? Corresponding historical record, that is, the actual timeline of the rise and prosperity of the Lusignan family, seems to bear out the story, especially given the rise was inexplicably speedy. Otherworldly intervention never seemed more likely, in fact, if you read the historical accounts. This is supported further by the fact many contemporary nobles of the time, for example, Jean d'Arras, claimed to have heard the story from his patron, Jean de Berry, Duke of Berry, suggesting that the tale had been circulating in aristocratic circles for a considerable time before being recorded. So, at the very least, the tale is not without historical veracity, even if we can't be sure if the tale itself was 100% factual. Maybe we can find a bit more certainty if we imagine what kind of powers a fairy queen is supposed to have and how far that tallies with what actually happened here. Melusine was clearly identified in the legends as being part of the fairy nobility. A fairy queen, as often termed in scholarly works on the subject. Fairy leaders are depicted as powerful supernatural beings residing in an otherworld or a parallel dimension, separate from the human realm. These details and more are outlined in such famous works as W.Y. Evans Wentz's The Fairy Faith in Celtic Countries, Thomas Cattley's The Fairy Mythology, and Catherine Mary Briggs's The Fairy Queen in Folklore and Literature. This otherworld is often envisioned as a mystical place of great beauty and enchantment, accessible only under certain conditions or through magical means. These beings are immortal or exceptionally long-lived, with a deep, intrinsic connection to the natural world and its cycles. As far as their powers go, fairy leaders are known to be endowed with formidable magical powers. They can cast spells, enchantments, and illusions that can deceive human senses or alter reality. They have control over natural elements such as weather, plants, animals, and even the passage of time. These abilities enable them to protect the natural world, maintain its balance, and enforce their will upon both nature and humans. As guardians of the natural world, fairy leaders have responsibility to maintain harmony and balance in the environment. They possess the power to bless or curse humans based on their actions towards nature. Those who respect and nurture the environment may receive blessings, while those who harm it may incur the fairies' wrath. They are often called weavers of fate. They can influence human lives through prophecies, dreams, and visions, guiding individuals along their paths or intervening for their own purposes. Shapeshifting is another common ability among fairy leaders, allowing them to transform into various forms, including animals, plants, or ethereal beings. This power enables them to navigate both the fairy and human worlds with ease and to protect themselves or deceive others. Their mastery of illusions further enhances their ability to manipulate perceptions and realities, creating a sense of mystery and wonder around them. Having gone over what the experts say, the legend of Melusine beautifully illustrates the principles of fairy leadership and their powers. Melusine, a fairy leader herself, resides in an otherworldly realm but interacts with the human world, embodying the supernatural essence of fairy nobility. Her connection to nature is evident in her serpent form, which she reveals every Saturday, a symbol of her integration with the natural world and its rhythms. Melusine's magical abilities are displayed through her architectural feats. She oversees the construction of grand castles and cities, such as the Château de Lusignan, feats quite beyond any contemporary queen of the day, demonstrating her evident control over the material world and her power to manifest grand illusions into reality. Her ability to bring prosperity and wealth to Raymondin and his lineage aligns with the fairy leader's role as protectors and benefactors of those who respect their terms. Her role as a guardian of nature is subtly hinted at in the legend, where her blessings and the success she brings are contingent on Raymondin keeping his promise. This mirrors the fairy leader's role in rewarding or cursing humans based on their actions, emphasizing the importance of trust and respect in dealings with the supernatural. Furthermore, Melusine's ability to influence fate is evident in her guidance and support of Raymondin, steering him towards greatness and prosperity. Her interventions shape the destiny of the Lusignan family, underscoring her role as a weaver of fate. Lastly, Melusine's shape-shifting ability is central to the legend. Her transformation into a serpent every week and her ultimate metamorphosis into a dragon-like creature upon the breaking of Raymondin's vow highlight her otherworldly nature and the power of illusions. This shape-shifting is a direct representation of Fairy Leeta's abilities to navigate different forms and realities. In conclusion, the legend of Melusine exemplifies the characteristics and powers of fairy leadership as described by the likes of Evans Wentz, Kately, and Briggs. Her story reflects the themes of supernatural power, nature guardianship, fate weaving, and the cultural significance of fairy nobility, consistent with the broader scholarly understanding of fairy folklore. So, does this mean the story is real? Well, maybe not, but it does mean the story is plausible. According to the folklore of long ages, this is exactly what a fairy queen would be expected to do. So, the original teller of the story of Melusine would either have to be an expert on fairy queens, an unlikelihood in a time when none of the three authors mentioned were born, or they would need to be giving an actual account of a genuine fairy queen and her doings. Or, at least, you could look at it that way. But, what do you think? Is it all a fantasy? Or is there something in what we've gone over that just might suggest it warrants more thought before you outright dismiss it? I guess we'll never know for sure, but just like any fairy tale, it's fun to speculate about. Even more so when maybe, just maybe, the fairy tale might actually be true. In any case, based on what happened to the Lusignan family, and how it all worked out for Raymondin, marrying a fairy queen isn't looking like too bad an idea. Now, is it? I mean, assuming the opportunity ever just happens to come up. I mean, why on earth not, right? That just about wraps up tonight's tale from Lorehound. Follow us as we sniff out more of history's most interesting stories.
As the hound dog entered the dimly lit library, he sensed an aura of mystery surrounding the ancient scrolls. The dusty shelves towered above him as he sniffed his way through the labyrinth of books. Suddenly, he picked up a scent and followed it to a secluded corner. With bated breath, he approached the shelf and pawed at the book, revealing the hidden scroll. As he rolled it out, he knew he had discovered a treasure worth protecting at all costs.